Hey guys, just doing this stream here from my apartment. I haven't done one of these in a while, and I actually will be doing more, but I want to talk about this really important series of stories that just dropped in the Intercept. I mean, as you know, if you follow this show and watch TMBS, or you're a patron, or you listen to the podcast or anything, that we've covered the political imprisonment of Lula da Silva a lot, and that we've also talked about the broader geostrategic implications of what has happened in Brazil, and speculated in an informed way, analytically, on a possible U.S. role. We know the role of the Justice Department in backing the prosecution team that silenced and imprisoned Lula with zero material evidence in the 2018 election. And so we've relied on a lot of reporting, particularly from Brian Mayer and the great work at Brazil Wire. Everybody needs to be reading Brazil Wire. If you've been reading them from the beginning, you would, this reporting will come as no surprise to you, and hopefully also our watching our show. So these documents that were just released to the Intercept and just reported, they show the Lava Jato prosecution team in their encrypted text messages actively plotting on several grounds. One of the things that always demonstrated that Lula's case was politically motivated and politically centered was the egregious and illegal decision to block him from being able to give interviews during the 2018 election after he was jailed on these charges. Now, the Lava Jato team, in its sort of public posture of dishonesty, obviously said that they were just doing prosecuting. That they just cared about the case. What we see now from these encrypted messages is that, and the leak from the whistleblower to the Intercept, is that in fact, when the Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Lewandowski gave Lula the permission under free press rule, basically, to do an interview in the fall of 2018, right before the election, when Haddad was running. In fact, this was already after Lula had been illegally removed from the race, that this Lava Jato team went into action together to try to strategize and do everything within their power to stop this interview from happening. And in fact, the interview eventually did not happen. Another major part of these leaks, and we'll be talking about it more on Tuesday, I think, I'm not sure yet, but we may have one of the reporters on who reported this story. Another major thing, and we've always talked about how the actual case that Lula is corrupted on, is convicted of corruption on, is this extraordinary, embarrassingly weak case that would never pass muster in any serious court of justice, which is that he supposedly charges that he took a seaside apartment from someone at a construction company after he left office. Now, we've always known that, number one, there's no actual evidence, in the sense that literally this is based off of plea bargain testimony, not preventative detention testimony of one executive, and that there was never any material evidence linking Lula to the house. And actually, I should correct myself, it wasn't even taking an apartment, it was taking upgrades on an apartment. So in other words, there was an elevator that was built inside the apartment, and they said, as an example, things like that were the bribe to Lula. Never any evidence, no name, no bank transfers, and no evidence when activists actually broke into the apartment and showed that it was clearly not even lived in. So we always knew that this was an extraordinarily weak case. And the other thing that was also incredible about it was that there was no connection to the Lava Jato investigation. That's another thing. When you read the New York Times, the Washington Post, or the Guardian, and they're just horrifically bad coverage, which you can, again, is relentlessly demonstrated in the great reporting and analysis at Brazil Wire, they'll say that he was, first of all, convicted on a money laundering charge or graft. Not true. And then it was related to the Lava Jato investigation, which it was not. The Moro Lava Jato team, who these leaks demonstrate their pure, crass political motivations, including lines like explicitly saying we need to prevent the Workers' Party from returning to power, that this case, though, had nothing to do with the broader Lava Jato investigation that went back several years. And part of these leaks also show some of the prosecutors, in addition to conspiring to stop Lula from being able to speak as is his constitutional right, them also speaking amongst themselves, basically saying like, you know, there's very little evidence on this apartment case, and also the total tenuousness or lack of connection between this apartment case and Lava Jato. Also, there's the U.S. role and how this relates to Lula's refusal to privatize key geostrategic resources of Brazil, and how that relates to a broader U.S. foreign policy, which was about reversing the pink tie governments, which basically, broadly speaking, we could say brought social democratic parties to Brazil from 2000 to 2014. So I'm really proud that we've been covering this story. It's incredibly important. And, you know, now, again, I will say, I think just analytically, from the available information, it was obvious that Lula was a political prisoner. It's obvious that this was a politically motivated case. But with this incredible level of substantiation now, it's really time to demand. And some people, you know, there was a helpful letter that came out a couple of months ago that was signed by Ilhan Omar and AOC and Grijalva and Ro Khanna and others. Bernie Sanders has mentioned the questionableness of the Lula case. But it is really time to much more aggressively say that if you're a political candidate and you're running certainly on any sort of progressive platform, that the demand for the release of Lula as a political prisoner is tantamount, is essential. And also the recognition that the 2018 election is illegitimate. Lula was a double-digit lead candidate. He was illegally removed from the field by a corrupted prosecution team. Judge Sergio Moro, of course, is now Bolsonaro's justice minister, may, in fact, according to Bolsonaro, be on track to getting a Supreme Court appointment. And we also need to much more aggressively look at the role of the U.S. Justice Department and aspects of foreign policy in this. This is profoundly important. I really want to thank, in addition to all the people that I learned from in this process, as I keep mentioning Brazil Wire, but also the really important reporting from Glenn Greenwald and Victor Poggi and others in the Intercept. You know, my really good friends and comrades and people who jumped on this, like Anna Kasparian, crushing it on the Young Turks. Kyle Kalinske has talked about this a little bit, as well as others. And I really hope that everybody will take these new revelations and continue it, because this really substantiates, again, if you were paying attention, obviously this was what was happening. And it was, they were terrified. There's no question that Lula da Silva, is recognized, and you could see in these new interviews that now, of course, he's finally allowed to do after the election's over, that this is basically, I think without a doubt, the most powerful political communicator that we have on the scene today, and the most powerful political communicator of a progressive perspective, in fact, as well as a real direct, down-to-earth diagnoser of the world we live in today and how to deal with it and what strategies are moving forward. So these revelations are huge. I have no doubt that they could also be connected with a bigger story across Latin America and this reversal. But we have the extraordinary leader who's been in prison, who's been prosecuted in a vicious and grotesque way by Judge Sergio Moro, who is uncritically Lava Jato, and this is important, Lula should absolutely be released immediately. Lava Jato was uncritically covered by people in the so-called progressive and independent press. It's still uncritically covered in mainstream media, and it's about U.S. foreign policy, it's about justice, it's about democracy in Brazil, it's about the geostrategic significance of the fifth largest economy in the world, of one of the largest economies in the world, the largest power in Latin America writ large. This is incredibly important. Read these revelations. They're absolutely grotesque. And but again, should come as no surprise to anybody who was following this and was able to do an analysis of it. So we will be certainly doing more of this on Tuesday. Yes, there's more to come. Now let me end. Lula Livre, thank you all of you. Let me just say really briefly to the other questions that have come up. Yes, there's more live shows planned, of course. The next one to get your tickets to is to come see us August 24th in Chicago. And guys, I mean, first of all, because we're monetized, you can definitely donate. And I see some people doing that to our YouTube channel. Every little bit really helps. But definitely the way to do this and the way to also get 2 additional full shows, including the post game, which is incredibly fun and interactive with Discord questions and everything else, and video clips and sketches. We have a ton of fun, as well as these Sunday shows, which are serious deep dives into history, theory, policy, and also the think tanks, where we also just have a lot of fun together. So on behalf of me and the whole team, and all of you, I appreciate all of you. Patreon.com/TMBS. We'll be here Tuesday, obviously, and Lula Livre. Thanks, guys.